Yo, welcome to the channel. Hope you're doing well. Let's get into this. The Sons of Feanor. I have been waiting for a while to watch this one. Here it is. Shout out to the men of the West. Go subscribe to them. Subscribe to them. Subscribe to me. Subscribe to everybody. Let's do this. The Sons of Feanor. Families of Middle-earth.
The seven sons of Feanor were Maithros the tall, Maglor the mighty singer, whose voice was heard far over land and sea, Kelagorm the fair, Caranthir the dark, Curufin the crafty, who inherited most his father's.
Maedros. Maglor. Kelagorm. Caramthir. Curufin. Amrod and Amras. Okay, I've forgotten every one of them, except Maedros. How could I forget Maedros?
Skill of hand, and the youngest, Amrod and Amros, who were twin brothers, alike in mood and face. In later days, they were great hunters in the woods of Middle-earth, and a hunter also was Kelagorm, who in Valinor was a friend of Arome, and often followed the Vala's horn. Sweet-eyed Melanin, Yoistin here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Today
should
we are
have my
going to
hair
start
down
a
for
new
this.
series in which we look at a chosen family tree and the deeds of that family at large. Now, to start off, this family is quite straightforward in its lineage, but it counts more in deeds, having changed the history of Middle-earth during the years of the trees, but more so during the First Age. We will not talk about every individual detail pertaining to the members of this group, but rather the larger pieces of their history as a group. There are some articles and videos in the description below and cards above for more information and for some of the sources for today's video. My friends, without further delay, thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Let us begin our tale. Looking first at the family tree, Feanor, the crafter of the Silmarils, was the son of Finwë, who was the first king and ambassador of the Noldor to Valinor.
For all who don't know, Feanor is my favourite character of the First Age. Most interesting, and he's a bit of an idiot, but a genius at the same time. He's the most interesting character. Favourites are... Well, you know what? He's my favourite.
With Finwë's first wife, Miriel, Finwë had his eldest son, Feanor. Miriel died soon after the birth of Feanor, as the elf was born in 1169 of the Years of the Trees. Feanor would go on to marry an elf maiden named Nerdinel, the daughter of Maton. She would remain behind in Valinor, even after her husband and children went forth into Middle-earth. Feanor and Nerdinel would have 7 children: Maithros, Maglor, Kelagorm, Caranthir, Curufin, Amrod, and Amros. They were born in that order, with Amrod and Amros being twins and youngest. Nerdinel requested for Amrod and Amros, or at least one of them, to be left with her before they left Valinor for Middle-earth, fearing that they would all come to death by the warning of Aule. Feanor denied her this request, and over time the two would become estranged because of Feanor's fell deeds. The sons all had their own unique personalities, as described a bit in the quote at the beginning of this video, and they have other Quenya names as well. But for simplicity's sake, I will only call them by their popular Sindari
I love how some have got red hair, some have got black hair.
names and tell of their personalities in so much as their deeds.
Look at Maedros, what a beast.
Only one of them would ever have any children, and that would be Curufin, whose son was Celebrimbor, the Lord of Eregion.
Damn.
Again, they have a rather straightforward family, being 7 sons of Feanor, who is the eldest son of Finwë. Their half-uncles were Fingolfin and Finarfin, who had children of their own, but we need not concern ourselves too much with them in this video, beyond the actions that they took. Now, let's look at the deeds of this renowned and infamous group of sons. The sons of Feanor were born and raised in Valinor, and they traveled about those lands.
I love how he
coming
just
often
had
to the halls
7
of Aule,
sons.
and
It's such a Feanor thing to just have 7 sons. Like, he's such a boss. My sperm can only... can only produce male specimens.
Kelagorm would go to Arome, and he became a hunter like him and was given the hound Huan. As a group, they don't become too involved with the Greek, and they traveled about those lands, coming often to the halls of Aule. And Kelagorm would go to Arome, and he became a hunter like him and was given the hound Huan. As a group, they don't become too involved with the great deeds of Arda until they took the Oath of Feanor with their father in Valinor. This happened in the year 1495 of the Years of the Trees, after the destruction of the two trees of Valinor, which gave light to the world, and the theft of the Silmarils from Feanor's home by Melkor, now named Morgoth. Within this oath, Feanor and his 7 sons pledged to take back the Silmarils, the works of Feanor, from any who would withhold them from the kin of Feanor. To this they swore to LOTR himself, and such vows and oaths cannot be taken aback, as I discussed in a recent video of mine about oaths. These words taken in Valinor would set the sons of Feanor and their father to their dooms, as we shall see. Soon after taking the oath, the sons followed their father, then the new self-proclaimed king of the Noldor, to make war with Morgoth, who had murdered the king Finwë and had taken the Silmarils, into Beleriand and Middle-earth. Maethros alone stood aside during the burning of the ships at Loskar, disagreeing with the betrayal of his cousin's folk, and he would apologize for it later. But in 1497 of the Years of the Trees, woe beset the family and those who were loyal to them, as Feanor was slain during the Dagor Nuin Gileath, the Battle Under Stars. During that time, Celegorm also went forth with some elves to waylay orcs that made to attack Círdan in the havens of the Falas. In the aftermath of the Battle Under Stars, Feanor's forces and sons retrieved Feanor, who had charged ahead after having victory originally, but by then the Balrogs and their lord Gothmog had done fatal damage to Feanor. The Elven King's body was recovered, but as Feanor lay dying, beholding the Thangorodrim, the 3 volcanic mountains outside of Angband, he knew then that his elves, and his sons who would lead them, would not be able to throw down Morgoth's towers unaided. So Feanor thence died, and his fiery spirit left his body in ashes. Maethros, the heir and eldest son of Feanor, would lead those elves who were loyal to the House of Feanor thereafter. But Maethros would himself be unable to lead for long without absence, for after the Battle Under Stars, Morgoth sent an emissary to offer terms to the elves, as well as feigning the surrender of one of his Silmarils. Maethros went forth to treat with Morgoth, but with trickery, as he brought with him an army of elves. But Morgoth was also one of trickery, and had sent the larger host. Maethros' elves were slain, and the elf, the son of Feanor, was captured. Morgoth sent word for the Noldor to leave Beleriand, and to forsake their war. But the oath of Feanor was already at play, as the sons of Feanor could not now abandon the Silmarils. And so Maethros was pinned and hung by his right wrist to the face of a precipice of the Thangorodrim. And his brothers went to Hithlam, not far from Angband, and Thangorodrim, to build a fortified camp. But Maethros was not wholly forsaken. He spent years being pinned to that mountain, but eventually, in the year 5 of the First Age, one of his greatest friends from Valinor, his cousin Fingon, the son of Fingolfin, came to save him. But he was not able to reach him directly, where Maethros was pinned. So Maethros begged Fingon to shoot him with an arrow, rather than letting him stay there, and Fingon made ready to do so, and prayed to Manwë, who loved all birds. Manwë then sent the greatest of his eagles, the Rondor, to bring Fingon to Maethros' body directly. Unfortunately, Fingon was not able to free his cousin's right hand from its shackle, so he was forced to cut it from Maethros to get him down. It seemed a small price to pay for the return of Maethros to his kin, and indeed the eldest son of Feanor relinquished his and his family's claim to kingship over all of the Noldor, giving it to their uncle Fingolfin, father of Fingon, instead.
Damn,
Already,
so much just happened. Jeez. Oh my god, I need a minute. Wow. No, I keep saying I will. Maethros needs a video for himself, man. I need that. I need that brief 3 minutes of what was just said in like a full epic video. Jeez. Such amazing story writing, though. Wow. God, that was so cool.
the two houses assuaged their former feuds that had happened when Feanor abandoned his brother during the crossing of the sea, even if the hearts of Maethros' brothers did not all agree with this decision to relinquish the kingship. Maethros, of his brothers, seemed the most wise and intelligent, and after having counsel with others among the Noldor, and receiving word from King Thingol that the Noldor were welcome to the lands that were not his, Mithros took his brothers from Hithlum to the lands in East Beleriand, knowing his brothers were likely to have outbursts and cause problems with the other elves if they remained in Hithlum. So the sons of Feanor settled
Smart.
there, and Mithros settled in the lands near Himring, and guarded that land from the evils of Angband to the north, and it was called the March of Mithros. Caligorm and Curufin went slightly southwest to Aglon and fortified that place. Maglor guarded the gap between the hills, which had made for a good spot for forces to go through. Caranthir went to Thargelion and settled there. Amros and Amrod dwelt in the east also, but were hunters and did not take part much in the siege of Angband. Mithros and Maglor would continue to upkeep relations with the other elves, going to the feast of Mereth Adderthad, where went many elves that made for a joyous occasion. However, speaking of the siege of Angband, the forces of the sons of Feanor in the east, and the forces of the Noldor in the west, would win the Dagor Aglareb, the glorious battle, beginning the siege of Angband in the year 60 of the First Age.
Nice.
Eventually men would come into the lands as the siege held. While the houses of Beor and Hador went further west in Beleriand, serving the houses of Finarfin and Fingolfin respectively, the House of Haleth would come into contact with Caranthir and the House of Feanor. Caranthir rescued Haleth and her folk from orcs near the year 375 of the First Age, and the elf, having seen the valor of men, offered Haleth and her people a fiefdom, to which they declined, not wanting to serve any lord. Haleth thanked him and moved her people to Brethil. Eventually the Dagor Bragolok, the Battle of Sudden Flame, happened, and Morgoth broke the siege of Angband in 455 of the First Age. Except for Himring, the refuge of Mithros, all of the other lands of the Sons of Feanor would be overrun, forcing the sons to retreat to different places. Maglor joined Mithros at Himring. Caligorm and Curufin fled to Nargothrond, the home of Finrod Felagund, and Caranthir joined his brothers Amros and Amrod, and the three of them went to Amon Ereb, being thereafter aided by the Green Elves of that land. After this battle, an assortment of different things would happen. In 463 of the First Age, the Easterlings came over the Blue Mountains in the east, led by Bor and Ulfang. Bor followed Mithros and Maglor, and Ulfang followed Caranthir, and it was Ulfang and his folk that would prove to be faithless. We'll return to them in a bit. In 465 of the First Age, during the quest for the Silmaril and the tale of Beren and Luthien, the brothers Caligorm and Curufin dwelt in Nargothrond, and knowing that Finrod left to help Beren take one of the Silmarils, the two caused political unrest during the stewardship of Orodreth and the leaving of Finrod. They also captured Luthien during this time, as Caligorm wished to marry her against her will, and attempted to force an alliance with her father, King Thingol. However, with the help of Huan, the loyal hound of Valinor who betrayed Caligorm, Luthien escaped the clutches of Caligorm. Eventually King Finrod died, and his people grieved, and Orodreth became the king, as the hearts of the people turned back to the kin of Finarfin. The two Feanorian brothers were expelled, rather than being put to death in another kinslaying, and Curufin's son
Jeez, you really can't take Feanor out of his sons. Jeez.
Celebrimbor repudiated the deeds of his father and remained in Nargothrond. Celebrimbor's fate, although tragic in the end, would be different than the other Feanorians, and he would be the last member of his family. As told more in my Beren and Luthien videos, Caligorm and Curufin would come upon Beren and Luthien in the wild, and during this encounter Huan would leave Caligorm's side for good. Curufin fought with Beren and was defeated, but even turning away he sought to slay Luthien, but hit Beren with an arrow instead. Beren of course was healed and saved, but these two brothers immortalized their evil deeds, as well as Thingol's hate for the sons of Feanor. That, as we will see, comes into play in a bit. After the quest for the Silmaril was successful,
Let me know if you want to see Beren and Luthien. I still haven't reacted to them.
the Union of Mithros was established to unite the Noldor against Morgoth, who was now seen as assailable, as Mithros was enheartened by the success of the quest. However, Caligorm and Curufin openly vowed to slay Thingol and destroy his people, if the Elven King did not relinquish the newly attained Silmaril by war's end. Thingol refused to take part in the alliance, sending only Mablung and Beleg, to fight alongside the elves of the west, and not the Feanorians in the east. Thingol would send no more because he hated the sons of Feanor, and would join no union with them.
I wonder why.
King Orodreth, who also would not march for any son of Feanor because of Celegorm and Curufin, opposed the will of any of his own elves to go forth into battle, but some small force did join the house of Fingolfin. If Thingol and Orodreth had sent other elves, and Celegorm and Curufin did not do as they had done, perhaps the battle would have turned out differently. Indeed, the Union did not achieve the victory it had sought, and in the east, Ulfang's Easterlings who followed Corenthir proved treacherous, turning on them during the Nernaeth Arnoediad, the Battle of Unnumbered Tears in 472 of the First Age.
I love the names of his
Although
battles.
the Sons of Feanor survived this betrayal by the Easterlings, they were wounded, routed, and defeated, and they had to fall back. Ulfang's son, Uldor the Cursed, was slain by Maglor, but it did little. They retreated to Mount Dulmed, and after the battle, the 7 sons of Feanor lived out in the wilds of Osiriand, consorting with the Green Elves, for Himring was taken by orcs. They had not the strength of arms nor the hope to truly assail Morgoth in any large way ever again, so their thoughts turned now to their oath and the Silmaril that was nearer at hand. Thingol and the dwarves of Nogrod had put the Silmaril into the necklace Nauglamir, causing battle, strife, and the end of Thingol, and the end of the girdle of Melion upon Doriath. The Silmaril then passed to Luthien, and none of the sons dared to assail her while she yet lived. But after her death, the Nauglamir came to Baron Luthien's son, Dior, then the king of Doriath. So Celegorm stirred his brothers to go forth to war when Dior would not respond to their claim for the Nauglamir. So occurred the second kinslaying and the second sack of Doriath in 507 of the First Age, and this battle was bloody, ending the realm of Doriath forever.
Damn.
However, Dior slew Celegorm, Curufin, and Corenthir, although he and his wife Nimloth were slain also. The evil servants of Celegorm took Dior's young sons, Ilured and Ilurin, out in the forest, and left them out there to starve. Maithros, evidently horrified by this misdeed, attempted to find the young innocent half-elves, but to no avail. The Nauglamir itself had also escaped their clutches, going with Dior's daughter Elwing and other refugees to the havens of Sirion. The oath would follow them, and Maithros, Maglor, Amrod, and Amros, and the followers that they had left, would commit the third kinslaying in 538 of the First Age. During this battle, many would be slain, including Amrod and Amros, but the Silmaril would yet again escape them, and Elwing would leap into the sea with it.
That Silmaril just wasn't meant to be theirs, man. Wow. It was all that oath they made, man. That oath they made. Just GG's after that, man. GG's all around. There was no... Unbelievable. Such a good story.
The Silmaril would eventually go to Eärendil and lead to the downfall of Morgoth ultimately. But as for our characters here, there were only 2 remaining sons of Feanor left out of the 7, Maithros and Maglor, the oldest brothers. During the battle, 2 young elves, the sons of Eärendil and Elwing, named Elrond and Elros, were captured, and they would be adopted and raised by Maglor, and a love would grow between them. The fostering of Elrond and Elros by Maglor is perhaps the best deed any son of Feanor ever committed, even
Wow.
in a sea of terrible actions.
Wow.
For Maglor was a good father figure for them, the best he might have been. Then eventually came the War of Wrath, from 545 to 587 of the First Age, and it's possible Maithros and Maglor played some part in it, but in the end, the remaining 2 Silmarils were captured by Eonwe, the Herald of Manwë, and his forces, as Morgoth was defeated. Maithros and Maglor came to know that Eärendil's star must have been the 3rd Silmaril, and it was forever out of their grasp, being a light for the whole world to see. They did not want to continue their oath, but were forced to do so. Eonwe would not give up the other 2 Silmarils, due to the atrocities that the brothers had committed in pursuit of them, and Maithros and Maglor realized that there was no way to escape their oath, so they stole the Silmarils. They were caught, and they were ready to die and be released from their oath in that life, but Eonwe let them be free with the Silmarils. Of course, due to their evils, the holy light of the Silmarils burned their hands. Maethros would cast himself into a fiery chasm with his Silmaril, and he would end his own life. Maglor, the last surviving son of Feanor, threw his Silmaril into the sea, and it is said that Maglor still wanders the shores of the sea today.
I haven't talked a lot this video because it's so good. And my boy Maethros. Bloody hell, what a way to go. What a way to go. Look at that, man. Oh, I know they were evil. But I still feel sad. I don't know why. How weird is that, right? How weird is that? That's my boy, man. Maethros is my favourite. Damn. Because I'm the older brother. I have a lot of brothers. So it's not like I can relate to this, obviously, but it's just being the older brother. He must have had so much annoying stuff to deal with, whilst also going through all of this. Do you know what I mean? Whilst also the whole time probably thinking, man, this oath we've taken and what we've done. Oh, I feel like some of them had good in them. You know what I mean?
Into a fiery chasm with his Silmaril, and he
So
would end
good,
his own
so
life.
good.
Maglor, the last surviving son of Feanor, threw his Silmaril into the sea, and it is said
It's crazy how Feanor, like his lineage was so important for all of that. And even what's this guy's name? Felgor?
Feanor threw his Silmaril into the sea. Maglor, the last
Maglor. Even Maglor's son, even Maglor, because he fostered Elrond and Elros. I mean, they're still alive, so well, Elrond is. So that just shows you all of that stemmed from Feanor right at the beginning. He is such a huge, huge part of Lord of the Rings, man.
surviving son of Feanor
It's just
threw his
so good.
Silmaril into the
So
sea,
good.
and it is said that Maglor still wanders the shores of the sea today, singing in pain and regret, being a mighty singer of old. Thus the Silmarils found their homes, the sky, the sea, and the earth.
Beautiful.
The sons of Feanor found their ends, going to the halls of Mandos, where dwelt their father Feanor, except for Maglor, of course. And we come to the end of our tale. From the tale of the sons of Feanor, we see how we must let our goodness, love, and compassion overcome our fear, hatred, and sorrow, for our deeds reflect who we are in the end, and we must not be so hasty as to doom ourselves. Thank you all so much for watching this video.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable video. So, so good. So, so good. That genuinely is one of my favourite videos I've ever watched on YouTube. That was so good. So good. The family that slays together stays together. True. Whenever someone tries to tell Tolkien elves a cookie cutter stereotypical goody two shoes, show them this video. But Dad said we should. The book. uh, Poor Maglor. He raised Elros and Elrond. That was probably the happiest time in his life. True. Even though they aren't the best of people, I really like the Sons of Feanor, especially Maedhros. Same. I've always loved the tragic quality of their story, very Shakespearean, even if Tolkien didn't care much for Shakespeare. I really don't know what good they could have done together in the world had they not been so obsessed with those gems and made that damn oath. That damn oath. That is an amazing comment, man. Imagine what good they could have done together. right? Imagine that's such a good comment. Imagine they didn't do that oath, right? Imagine Feanor was just like, you know what, forget about the Silmarils. Obviously, a huge butterfly effect would come from that, right? But it's crazy to think what could have happened if they were good. Like, I feel like they would have destroyed Morgoth a lot sooner. Guess every tale needs a classic Greek tragedy, and boy, did these guys have tragedies. I keep saying it, man. I keep saying it, and I know a lot of you are like. Actually, no, a lot of you have. No one's even really talked to me about it. I keep saying I see like Greek mythology vibes in so much of Tolkien's work, and I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology. I wonder if he was as well. I'd like to think he was. As someone whose angry words and hasty decisions have gotten into trouble, I sympathise with the sons of Feanor. So good. So good. I could keep reading those comments for genuinely a long, long time. Really, really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for being here. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out Men of the West. It's been your boy OmarioRpg. And as always, thanks for being you. Bye, guys. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate your time. Please hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. It's so simple. Just click the red button and follow all my socials. I stream daily on twitch.tv/OmarioRpg as well. And if you want to support the channel further, the link is in the description to tip the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Peace out. God bless. And take care.